I'm happy to be talking to the people who are responsible for the software that is responsible for all my horrible performance reviews.
Your mouse is on the screen.
There we go. Alright, so I guess the title of my talk, Art, Design, and Chips, it's not going to really follow kind of a straight narrative because I'm not capable of that. But basically, I consider myself a conceptual designer, and I'm just going to kind of reflect on the experiences that have brought me to where I am. I currently work as a product design engineer at a company called Synaptics, but I started my career in design about 10 years ago, actually, which is kind of was bizarre reflecting on. When I say conceptual designer, what does that mean? I mean, I'm trained as a product designer, but I think that I'm not really that guy who's sitting there measuring radii for kind of like the perfect form. I kind of believe that form follows concept, and so I tried to make things that kind of express an emotion and create a dialogue. So I started off my career in design at this place called Fabrica. It's Benetton's Communication Research Center in Treviso. This is the actual building. I was working in this bunker here and on their product design team that at the time was led by Sam Barron, and I think still is actually. And it was a lovely place. It was they had photography, film, writing, interactive, and graphic design, as well as they published the magazine Colors. So I started off kind of here designing more decorative objects. Here's an example of one of the first projects. In fact, it's called Small Decorative Objects, Biblo. And we had made kind of, the concept behind this was to make ceramic decorative objects that represented a dying format. So in this case, the tape radio or the rotary phone. We also did VHS tapes. Another project we had done was kind of an exploration of the Venetian spritz. So we made a series of glassware that would complement this aperitivo tradition, kind of crazy spins like the ashtray underneath the spritz glass, or a glass with a place to put your orange slice on. Then we were also working outside for companies, for instance, like Foscarini, who makes lamps. So we had done among a large series of concepts for them. These are some lamps that I had done that were supposed to kind of take traditional sofa material designs and put them on a lamp. So these are kind of leather and steel, among others. And while I was there, I also got to do some exhibit design, which I had never been exposed to. This was one for Spazio Rossano Orlandi in Milan in 2007 for the furniture fair, and it revolved around kind of design. We designed a series of objects to playfully suggest the spaces where we had shops, because the design team actually designed also independent products for our series of stores called Fabrica Features. And so these, you see, are shipping crates, each one with, it's kind of dark, the resolution, but if you look here, we had shops in Italy, France, China, Turkey, and so we just kind of made at least one object for each shipping crate. We also did a pop-up shop in Paris once. We had 5 days. It was during Benetton's 40th anniversary that they had a show for Fabrica at the Centre Pompidou, and this shop was, we actually rented out the space. It's right in front of the Centre Pompidou, and we just kind of went crazy, went to the hardware store and started building stuff for 5 days, and that's what came out. And we just displayed our products there, and it was overall a fun experience. So after 2 years at Fabrica, was 1 year I was kind of, I guess you would call it a resident. They called it borsista, but I mean, you could think of it almost as an art residency. Then I was hired on as a consultant, and I was working still with the Fabrica team, but also mostly towards Benetton licensed products. And I was starting to kind of explore other possibilities because we'd just kind of be pumping out volumes and volumes of concepts. And unfortunately, the business wasn't seeing to it that any of them got produced, because the way licensed products work is that a producer pays the company basically for their logo. And Benetton, we were really pushing Benetton to try to kind of take their name and take their branding into their own hands with the design of their products. So, but the producers didn't really want to change the things they were already making. They just wanted to slap a logo on it. So I figured, maybe it's time to move on. At that time, I had been accepted to Stanford University, and so I started their master's program there. One really nice thing about Stanford was that it was a chance to really dive into making with my hands. Fabrica didn't have any shop space or prototyping facilities. We basically were working with producers or digitally. But here you see me hard at work on a concept for a chair. I called it Crumple Stillskin, and it was just a bunch of crumpled paper. You see a happy user of my chair. So, one of the reasons I chose Stanford was because I wanted to really absorb that human-centric design philosophy that they seem to espouse and have pioneered. But while we did have a lot of projects within our curriculum that demanded a user-centered design process, I also had a lot of time to pursue my own projects. And when left to my own devices, I seemed to always gravitate towards the more kind of conceptual design approach rather than a strict problem-based approach. So here I was trying to find kind of the most minimal expression of a lamp, just cord and bulb. And this was, by the way, before the CFL bulbs, so don't think I stole the form from there. So yeah, the cable basically just becomes an abat-jour, and the whole structure supports itself. A theme that I seem to come around to a lot is kind of like rooted in a form of nostalgia. Like I try to update forms and technologies that already kind of seem to be imbued with meaning. In this case, the typewriter is connected to a computer, allowing you to type and have a digital copy, or else, conversely, it can become a printer. So here, so it's just kind of hanging on to that old school typewriter feel. Some of my projects are kind of more commentary. They kind of stretch the status quo to the absurd. This is a clock, but it's really a commentary on like Twitter and Facebook and social media in general. Basically, the idea behind this is that this was in 2007. I had just signed up for Twitter, and people are like tweeting every second. Oh, I just had a coffee, and okay, well, that's great. So people were just pushing out so much information, broadcasting themselves. So I decided to take something kind of that was in the public domain and digital and make it kind of analog and personal. So this clock every minute spits out a card at you that says, how do you feel right now? And you can write on the card and then, log yourself for every minute of your day. And so, also once again in commentary form, like how would that apply to service design? So this was kind of confronting like the fetishism of gadgetry. Made a booth called iShine. It was a mobile booth you could take around, and we would charge $2 and we'd shine your iPhone.
That's hysterical.
That's in Palo Alto.
Did you get a lot of business?
No. We did get some though, which was amazing. We were only out there for 6 hours total, but we got about 4 paying customers. So it's not a winning proposition yet, but it needs to grow. We need to cultivate this business. So then I also, like, some of my work just is perverting icons. Or
How did the third one do for you?
Yeah, and then, or just poke fun at kind of icons. This one was kind of a commentary on, like, the arts and crafts movement moving into modernism and the forms that it takes. It is a fully functional teapot if you want to use it, but it's rather hard to wash. Then other stuff is just kind of like playing with words. These are my pillows. And so after Stanford, after grad school, I tried to set up my own studio. It was not a very good time to find work, especially with kind of a body of work like this. But so I tried to set up my own studio and like basically sell it through galleries, make limited edition runs of things. Didn't work out too well, and some of my work started to take on a bit of a negative kind of maybe feel. For instance, I named these one Brooklyn shoes, and I was really thinking about how you drown someone, like you throw them off the Brooklyn Bridge with a brand new pair of concrete shoes. Or this one, which is called Natura Morta. It's a still life, and you spray some water on the concrete, and the still life appears. Anyway, I found my way back into industry. I didn't have too many contacts at this point, but after a few failed attempts at getting into consultancies and kind of increasing demoralization, I got in touch with the company that I worked for many years prior. My undergraduate was physics, and after that I had worked at Synaptics once before. And so I still had contacts within that company, and I had learned that they had a user experience design team as well as a concept prototyping team. So that's where I currently work. That's part of my team. There I am in the back looking ever so happy. I think I've got a tablet in my hand or something. But anyway, our mission in the concept prototyping team at Synaptics is, one, we produce high-fidelity, form-factor accurate prototypes that we use to help market new technologies. We also explore new technology concepts with the research team that we have in-house, both the R&D team, which we're a broader part of, but exploratory research, as well as the UX researchers. And on my team, I have 12 people, 5 of whom are PhDs, and the rest of us have some other relevant experience. So basically, we also try to ideate, design, construct, and test. We produce kind of test platforms for new technologies. We also try to engage with outside partners to create novel first-to-market HCI concepts to highlight our innovation and capabilities. We're, like I said, 12 people. Everyone has a different discipline, and I'm actually the only designer in my company, which is kind of lonely sometimes, but it's actually quite nice because I feel that my point of view is very much valued. Like, people really do come to me to ask about their work or to get me to kind of visualize their work for them. Among other things we do, we also do need finding and user studies. We do concept generation, product design, architecture, mechanical design, PCB design. It's all up there. Yeah. So I'll move on. Kind of in terms of our process, it's pretty much what you'd see in your standard textbook design thinking textbook. We first want to understand the opportunity. We do some blue sky work, but generally the work that we do is either requested from internally or from a customer through our sales team or marketing team. So, and then we just try to generate concepts around the need, and we spend a lot of time trying to refine the concepts, and then we get them into a platform and start testing. The things that I do on a daily basis include all the things you see there, including being very naive, because I work with a lot of really smart people, and so sometimes you gotta have someone ask the really stupid questions, and that helps, actually. So man, I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna just go through a couple of the projects that I've done since I've been there, and it's just a small outtake, but we built this concept tablet. The idea came, like, I naively asked, like, why aren't any tablets borderless? And it turns out that a lot of the algorithms that deal with sensing, like, you can't have a hand physically on the touchscreen and then gesture. So we came up with ways around that. Now, you might ask, no, that still has a border. There's also a physical limitation, but you could definitely minimize that border. We also kind of networked these tablets so that you could play a game of air hockey across two of them. And we also worked on things like proximity sensing. Here, I developed a game to showcase that, which is kind of a game of helicopter. You can hover over the pad, and so we can sense above the touchpad, and then you can crash your helicopter in a city. We also, we're a sensor company, so we also started working on kind of sentient keyboards. This was the first iteration of that, which was just the world's thinnest keyboard. Well, that slide's wrong. Anyway, but it was it's 0.62 millimeters thick. It's just one sensor, and you're capable of gesturing as well on the keyboard surface. And we took that to an actual physical keyboard that we acquired a company that makes a mechanism that slides the keys kind of along the hypotenuse, so it gives you the illusion of deeper travel. And we made a stack up that's 3 millimeters high, and then we made the keys capacitive as well. So we developed a whole gesture set around that. We also have been working on sensors on the side and back of the phone, and what kind of gesture sets can you develop around that. And we've also been going into automotive. I'm speeding up here because I'm way over time, but this is a demo unit we did to announce kind of our entry into the automotive market. It has a haptic touchscreen and a haptic and force touchscreen and haptic and force touchpad, and we've been just really working with the whole user interface there. Gosh, I'm out of time, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop there. But thanks to all my collaborators through the years, and thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. We'll allow 1 or 2 questions. I think that's only fair. So, any questions, Eric?
Are you still doing your own work on the side as well?
Definitely. Not as much as I'd like to, but I'm still trying to keep sharp.
And when you're creating these prototypes, how do you physically create a prototype? I'm always fascinated by the actual mechanisms when you're making that touch screen, for instance.
Yeah, so, I mean, for one, we do have the facilities to build things within our company. So we have a machine shop, and we have a 3D printer, and we can get things sourced outside. And in terms of spinning the PCBs, we have a fab. And so, and we have a mechanical designer in-house who can work out all the snags and details, and we also have all the engineers to write the code. So it's really a collaborative team effort to get any project done. The concepting phase is also very much a team effort. I find that I spend a lot of time storyboarding and trying to visualize what the solution will look like, because that's one of my fortes. And so working with the engineers who don't necessarily have that ability to express themselves really kind of helps push our projects forward as well. But yeah, it's definitely a collaborative effort.
How long do each of these products take to get to a prototype?
It depends, It depends how much fire is under our ass. But for instance, And a lot of these are also, it's iterative, so like this is just, maybe some of these are the first incarnation. We're using them as a test platform to really develop new kind of HCI concepts. So the Bucatini, for instance, that was about a 4-month project, but we've been using it since to really kind of explore, and then it morphed into the actual keyboard design. So, you know, whereas, for instance, the automotive demo, that was about a 6-month project, but we were also working with some outside partners, and that can really slow you down sometimes, especially if you're not paying them.
Okay, a field trip sometime?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Awesome.
Come see our demo room.
Cool. Well,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
very much, Derek.